Can Boston College hold off Texas Tech for a speedster out of Louisiana? This is on today's show.
You are Locked On Boston College, your daily podcast on the Boston College Eagles. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome. This is Locked On Boston College, your team every day. I'm your host, AJ Black of Eagle Insider. Thank you for joining us. We are the only daily Boston College podcast, and we're glad you're here with us today. On today's show, we're going to talk about Donald Hand returning, Chaz Kelly to the portal, the Eagles land their first transfer portal player for basketball, and we'll kick things off with some college football recruiting news. But before we do that, today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. So let's get into recruiting. As we said earlier this week, this weekend was a huge weekend for BC football as they hosted a number of recruits. No new commitments, but what we got on Monday was another official visit. Now, official visits are starting to pile up. They're still, if I had to look at numbers, behind where they were last year, but I think we're going to have a smaller class this year. I don't think it's going to be the 27 that they landed last year. So I don't think you'll see as many official visitors, but a new one popped up that I thought was worth talking about, and that is Brayden Allen, a wide receiver, a 6'1" wide receiver from Lafayette Christian Academy in Louisiana. He's Lafayette, Louisiana. Now, Brayden is a late bloomer who's starting to really come into his own. As I said, he had last year 55 catches for 1,155 yards and 10 touchdowns on 21 yards per catch. This guy is a baller, big-time player that is also catching attention from other schools as well. He has, how many offers does he have? 9 offers. Many of them are small G5 schools like Arkansas State, Charlotte, Old Dominion, Tulane. But the other one, the one that BC is going to have to battle for, is Texas Tech. And Texas Tech also has an official visit set up. Boston College is getting theirs in June, and Texas Tech has theirs for June 13th. So the big question is, can Boston College hold off Texas Tech? Now, a lot of times when we're doing this official visit stuff, official visits to SEC schools, Big Ten schools, especially with the new revenue sharing plans that are coming out, I could see why that would be harder for BC to win some of those. But this is a Big 12 school. The Big 12 is pretty much the same level as the ACC. And Texas Tech is not an elite program. They aren't. The one thing about Texas Tech right now, and I don't know how they do their recruiting, follow what they did this offseason in football. I'm assuming they have some oil money. Let's just leave it at that. They're throwing around some money like it's left, like it's going out of style. So if they're going to go out with a bag of money to try to get recruits in, I don't know if Brayden Allen would be a kind of recruit that would be throwing bags at, but that would make things harder too. But I just love this kid. I mean, like, you hear about what he can do on the field and in track and field too. This is like someone that just looks like BC. As a sophomore, he finished 4th in the triple jump at the Louisiana 4A regionals and set a season best triple jump record. And he ran a 11.5 100 and long jump 27. So as I've said before on this show, when it's going to recruits, give me for like, especially the speed positions, wide receiver, running back, and defensive back. You can find track stars, bring them in. Heck, some of the other positions, Nedowick Pollen didn't work out, but he was a track star too. I'm a big fan of that, and just like I'm a big fan of wrestlers in the trenches. So this is one that it's going to be tough. How many recruiting battles has Boston College ever got into with Texas Tech? There was a wide receiver last year, but the reason why that this is a school that and student that BC would be going after is because Darrell Wyatt, he runs the South for BC basically. Florida, Louisiana, Texas, those are all his hotbeds. You see him linked to all these guys, but those are the schools that Darrell Wyatt knows, and Darrell Wyatt is one of the most connected coaches on the staff. Jonathan DiBiaso, I would give him credit too for what he's been able to do, but he's a different segment of the country. Daryl Wyatt just hits up that South really hard, and this is going to be another good one. Now, I've always mentioned too about Wyatt. The fun thing about him is that he recruits in silence. Like he's in his own silo, does kind of his own thing. And so a lot of what he does is a bit of a mystery. Now you know what their wide receiver board's starting to look like. You have Brayden Allen. That's the new one that we just talked about from Louisiana. You have Nyquir Helton. This is the one that I think is going to end up at Boston College. I'm not putting a crystal ball in yet for him, but I think there's a really good chance BC lands him. There is my Black Magic wide receiver and Santana Carlos. He's from Florida again. This is where you know you've got your guys where Wyatt is really doing well. And then you have there was one more, and I just lost it on my screen. Oh, it's Messiah Mingo. Messiah Mingo, a wide receiver from California, and that's one Dibbs has been really involved with as well. So there's your wide receivers right now. I would not be surprised if there's one or two more. This is a position that sometimes is really tough to gauge. Last year there was a bunch of different guys that I thought BC had a good chance with. They ended up going elsewhere. But they also landed some guys that I thought they had no chance at. Like a guy like Samaj Fleming that they landed last year, I swore he was heading for a high major and he ended up at BC. So this is a bit of a crapshoot, but I would love to see BC, like when you see BC go out and win a recruiting battle against a school like Texas Tech, that's a good feeling. That's a good thing for this program. Any battle that you can win in terms of what they can do against Power 4 programs, that's where you can see the program heading in the right direction. I'm not the biggest fan of BC landing a lot of recruits that have no offers. Just one. Just give me one, just so I know other schools. And almost every recruit that they have has that kind of thoroughbred. So that's a good thing for BC. Now, in our second segment, let's go to the court because there's a ton of basketball news that we need to get into. But before I do that, actually, I want to jump in with just a little bit of hockey news before we leave. So for BC hockey, at least two players at the time of this recording, and I know there's a lot changing, have already announced that they're heading to the NHL. Ryan Leonard's heading to the Washington Capitals. Not a surprise at all. We knew this was going to happen. This was almost locked in the bank. So you've already lost one. And you lost Gabe Perreault to the New York Rangers. So your two top scorers are gone. Now there is a North Dakota scorer, and I don't have his name in front of me, that is in the portal, and he's been linked to BC already. That would be a great get for BC. Trying to get another big name in here. I love how hockey can do this. I love this. I wish football and basketball could do this too. Like you lose your big guys and you just keep reloading. But that's not the world we live in right now for BC. Now in our second segment, let's get to the good news for BC hockey, for BC basketball, as they land their first transfer. I'll explain who this is and what he could bring to BC in just a moment. Ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in. Your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your investments, accounts, and spending all in one place. So you just stop managing your money and start building wealth. When I started using Monarch, I just realized how much I was spending going out to dinner with my family. Now I can budget smarter and save more. Instead of juggling multiple apps, I use Monarch to check my finances, track spending, and even plan long-term goals. So if you want to take care of your money, take care of your finances with Monarch Money, use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONCollege for half off your first year. Imagine watching your favorite team live, feeling the energy of the crowd, and witnessing unforgettable moments. There's nothing like experience a big game in person. Getting tickets shouldn't be stressful. That's where Game Time comes in, making it easier than ever to grab last-minute seats at unbelievable prices. I've used Game Time, I've told you before, to get myself BC football tickets, and I did it for my entire family. Got them great seats when it was bad weather underneath an awning. I knew it because I used their seat finder, and guess what? I got good prices and easy delivery. It was sent directly to my app, went right to my wallet, and boom. I was in the game. With peace of mind, with seat views before you buy, no surprise fees, and the lowest price guarantee, you can book with total confidence. So download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. That's LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed. Locked on Boston College, AJ Black here. I'm of Eagle Insider of the 247 Network, and we have had all sorts of updates on BC basketball as they continue to manage the transfer portal. If you've not been following the transfer portal, it's crazy. And if you want to get more details on it, check out Locked On College Basketball on YouTube or wherever you get your podcast. They've got it all locked down, and some of the big names in there are crazy. So make sure to check that out. Now, one of the things I've been talking about as I've monitored the portal is it seems like BC has not really been involved in a ton of names because you now have, and we'll get into who left in the third segment. You have like 5 or 6 spots because remember, rosters go up to 15. So BC basketball can really kind of reload in the portal. And it was worrisome to me that you see all these lists, Jamie Shaw on 3 or Travis Branaham on 247. They all put out the list of who contacts. They talk to agents, and the agents list 30 teams, and it's whatever. Now, those lists are silly, and many of those schools don't have a stinking chance at some of these kids. But there are also players on there that you're expecting that could be BC targets, and I haven't seen a lot. And that's what worries me. When you have like 5 or 6 spots, you want to see BC involved in a lot. Now, I know NIL is an issue, and I know basketball probably doesn't have like the best reputation and the money to spend, but BC is still a Power 4 school. They should be able to get guys in here. I'm not into that the Chicken Little thoughts of BC's not going to have a roster. They will. How good these players are a mystery. Well, BC landed there 15 minutes before I went to go record this. BC landed their first commitment out of the transfer portal. And it's from a Power 4 school. It's actually from the SEC. And his name is Aidan Shaw, a 6'9" power forward who I believe is a senior. And he is out of Mizzou. So he's a Mizzou Tiger. He was ranked 70th in the class of 2022. So he's a 4-star recruit under their former head coach. He played a limited role as a freshman, posting 2.7 points per game, 1.7 point rebounds. He saw a bump in playing time during 23-24 season and started 10 games, putting up 3.6 points, 3.8 rebounds, and 1.1 block, and then broke his wrist towards the end of the year. This year, he averaged 2.6 points, 1.8 rebounds, and 0.4 blocks per game. I'm trying to be excited. You see 3 seasons where he kind of did not a lot. I mean, I honestly, I'm not sure. I'm not sure what he's going to bring. Like, I'm not going to bash him. I'm ready to give him a chance. But he played a limited role, and I don't know. You lost Elijah Strong, who I thought was decent offensively at times, but definitely struggled defensively, especially in ACC ball. And you bring in Aidan Shaw, who, you look at those statistics and you say to yourself, is he going to start? Because that doesn't look like starter numbers to me. Or is he going to be a role player? If he's a role player, that's fine. If you have to fill 6 spots and you have a guy like him, you're going to get guys that don't play a ton and hope that they can grow into something. But I have to say, on top of that, the other names I've seen them connected to was Illinois big man Kerry Booth, who you look at his statistics and it's kind of similar. Is this kind of where we're at for BC's transfer portal? Like, they need scorers. They need guys that can put the ball in the bucket. I mean, it's just hard when you see statistics like this and say to yourself, that is your first get. I mean, maybe Earl Grant sees something there, but he's a Power 4 guy. That I'm not complaining about. But we also just brought in a Power 5 guy last year that had similar statistics, and Josh Beadle, he did nothing. So I'm a little worried about that. Now, what Boston College absolutely needs to get now are guards. They need guards bad because they lost 3 so far. We'll get into Chaz Kelly in a little bit. But they need ball handlers. They need a point guard. Unless Earl Grant truly believes Luka Taves can do it, you at least need somebody else to be in there. Yeah, and I would say someone who can battle Taves for that starting spot, but I don't know. I don't think he's ready to do that yet. Like, I don't think you can go in and say Luka Taves is going to be your starting point guard. I'm not sure if he's there physically yet. But this was an interesting first get. Not one that really, you know, opens a lot of eyeballs. It makes me wonder, though. The other name that I've been thinking about, like TJ Power, who his numbers are worse than this. Does this close the door? Because I thought that after 3 tries that Earl Grant would finally get him in here, but he's a 6'10", power forward too, that doesn't have that hasn't shown a huge upside yet, and I thought maybe he would be the guy that would come in here, but this is their first. We'll have to wait and see. Again, you got to kind of, when you have a puzzle this big, and this is the world college basketball is in right now. Unlike football, where football this past season, like there were no big like pieces that they had to get. Like it would be a disaster if they don't. Basketball, I think if you pulled up like a top 5 players, like their starting lineup from like the last couple of games, other than Donald Hand, I think every other guy has an X mark on him. That's just the way it is now. Now it's up to Earl Grant to get guys that can fit in here. And you have other guys coming in. I think that's important to note too. Caleb Steger, Akbar Wahid, and Jack Bailey are intriguing freshmen. I'm not sure how much they're going to contribute as true freshmen, but these other portal guys, they're going to have to get big, more consistent players if they're going to do anything this offseason. So Aidan Shaw's here. He's signed. He's good to go. We'll have to wait to see what he does. In our final segment, I'm going to talk to you about 2 guys, one going and one leaving, and we'll get into who those are in just a moment. Get the supplies you need from the site made for the skill trades. Supply House. Whether you're into plumbing, HVAC, or electrical work, Supply House is the reliable way to order products online. Their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right. Plus, with a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from over 400 top brands, you'll find exactly what you need delivered fast from coast to coast. Need help with an order? Supply House offers expert support and industry-leading service, so you'll always talk to a real person. And for trade pros looking for an extra edge, their free Trade Master program offers exclusive perks like a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every order. Thousands of skilled professionals are already taking advantage. Now it's your turn. Join the Trade Master program at supplyhouse.com/TM and start ordering plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies with just a few clicks. Plus, use promo code SH5 for 5% off your order. That's supplyhouse.com. Locked On Boston College. AJ Black here. And when you're done with this episode, also check out Locked On ACC with Alex Dono and Kenton Gibbs. With all sorts of things going on with college basketball, with Duke in their Final Four, you can get all the information on Locked On ACC on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. Now, one quick show note. I'm getting a green screen this week. It's going to attach to my chair, so I think it's going to look really cool. I'm really excited about that. So that like fuzziness you see by my head and sometimes where my hand kind of goes away, hopefully that'll be gone. Hopefully you'll see me in like a lot clearer. I'm excited to see if this thing actually works, but we'll be seeing that on a show later. So little production note for you guys. Now, in terms of basketball, it was a busy day. The first news of the day was one that I've been waiting for, just because I just felt like this player was just not fitting and not gelling with what this program is doing. And so I was waiting for him to enter the portal. And he finally did. And I was worried he wasn't. And that's Chaz Kelly. Chaz Kelly was point guard. BC, obviously, Earl Grant loves him. He was at ACC Media Day this year. He was a big starter for most of the season. But in terms of offense, he really didn't offer a whole lot. He averaged just over 3 points per game. He just couldn't shoot. And then as a guard, he just couldn't really handle the ball either, which just made things really tough. So at the end of the season, I was like, this guy. I mean, if Earl Grant is going to be retained, you're going to have to flip this roster. There's a few names that need it. I thought would need to enter the portal. Josh Beadle was one. Chaz Kelly was the other. Elijah Strong, I thought, would also be it. It's just you. You can't. You know, you don't want to. I don't like ripping on kids, but he just wasn't working. He just wasn't, and it was, for a team that struggled offensively, to have a guy that just really couldn't shoot, it was a huge deficit for your program. So when the portal opens, hopefully, he's a great kid. He's going to find a spot. I saw Jamie Shaw of On3 put up what schools have contacted him, and beyond like Providence, BU, and BYU, and there was another pretty decent school. They're all schools that are down a level, and honestly, that might be the best fit for Chaz. Like, go play. Like, it was like Maine, BU, and there's a few other small Rice. There's some small, Rice. He's from Texas, so maybe that's a good one. You would go play closer to home. I just don't think it was fitting. It was a good fit here, and so Earl Grant does what he has to do, which is you got to flip this roster. You cannot go back. Like, there's three guys that this roster needs to keep, and the rest, there's some that you would hope to enter the portal, and some that if they do, you give them a handshake and hope that things go well for them. The three that I think you need to keep are Donald Hand, Jaden Hastings, and Fred Payne. Those you can build your team around. Others, you can take it or leave it. You can find out if they work. If they want to go someplace else, and you don't want to pay them the money that they're going to need to keep, you can let them go. And so I have to give Earl Grant credit right now, because his roster has enough spots that if they use the portal correctly and get guys to hopefully fix this roster, they might be in a better chance for next year. Because the biggest news of the day was that Donald Hand released a video on the BC men's basketball channel that talked about him coming back. And then about 10 minutes after, there's him signing his NIL paperwork. So Donald Hand is back. This was the biggest question of the offseason in my mind. Like, all the other ones, I just kind of assumed, but would BC be able to keep him? Would they be able to pay him? First of all, this guy was the ACC most improved player of the year, ACC honorable mention. He averaged almost 16 points a game. He had about a month where he was probably the best player, one of the best players in the ACC that was not Cooper Flagg. And he's the one guy that gives you optimism moving forward, because if he continues to grow, you have a star in your hand, and you could win with a star, or you hope you can win. So this was huge. I honestly thought it was 50-50. I thought there was a chance that another school would just jump in and pay him a bunch and he'd leave. But listening to his story too, the way he said it, if you're a Boston College fan, if you need some reason to care about this basketball team, Donald Hand is your guy. His story, the reason he said he came back, the reason they talked about how important his word is and why he wanted to stay at Boston College and help them become something. That's how you get your basketball program back. You add that with winning. You got a guy that you care about, a star that you can like, and boom, he's a BC guy. You're feeling good about the future. If he can start winning you some games, then you got something. So this was cool. It was really cool to see this. And I'm glad BC can keep him, because this has been the motto for all BC athletics since the start of NIL is, if there's a guy that you really want to keep, they will find the money to keep him. And yes, basketball may have lost a player or two last year that you wanted to keep. Look at overwhelmingly all the players that you had and developed here at Boston College. Have they left? Zay Flowers, Quinton Post, Donovan Azaraku, Ozzy Trapillo. There's now Donald Hand. So you've got a bunch that they're able to do it. So in a sense, their system is working. Now you want to win more. That's a different story. I'm talking about roster retention right here. So don't get nasty with me in the comments that no, the system isn't working. I'm saying that the stars that you create, you're able to keep here. The guys that you lose, like, look at football. You really haven't lost anyone that was like backbreaking. Basketball, yeah, you could say that for last year, but you've been able to mostly keep everybody you want. So keeping Donald Hand is huge. Now it goes back to what I said in the second segment. Can they fix this team in the portal? Can they get decent players that can make this team better? Right now, Aidan Shaw's their first pick. We'll see what happens from here. I'll be back again tomorrow. Maybe there'll be more transfer portal news. We'll have it here on Locked On BC. So make sure to follow me on Twitter at AJBlack247. Hit that like and subscribe here on this YouTube channel. And we'll see you all again tomorrow for another episode of Locked On Boston College, your team every day.